you.
So white. Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock. Welcome to today's HubLive. My name is Elise Hatton. I'm the Rockhampton Regional Council Smart Hub Business Manager, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's HubLive. I have an amazing guest with me today, and his name is Mr. Phil Martin from Bitplex. Phil is quite a familiar face on these Hub Lives, I will say. Phil, I think this is your third Hub Live, right?
Second or third, yeah.
Second or third. Hello, how are you?
I am great. How are you doing today?
I'm very, very well. Now, Phil and I are going to build something pretty cool today, which is a plan around a new project. So, Phil, I will hand over to you to inform us what project we're going to be working on today.
Sure thing. Thanks, Elise. So today I want to talk about how to actually map out a project. So you've already figured out where you think you want to end up, and now you're faced with the job of breaking it down into tasks and getting people to work on it. And normally we do that using Excel or a to-do list or a whiteboard, and those are all fine, and they get the job done and they're really effective at it. But one of the things it doesn't let you do is it doesn't let you visualize how long things are going to take very easily. And it doesn't let you experiment with what if different people worked on a task, or how big a team do I need, and stuff like that. So to try and explore some of those things, we're going to pretend we're launching a new venture, which will be super exciting. Let me just share my screen.
Okay, so while you share your screen, let me say this. Basically, this session is for anyone who has an idea, either for a new business or to add a product or a service into your existing business, or you have an idea for any project that you want to work on. And the process that we'll be following today is essentially to map out this the project. Now, I have a background in psychology, and one of the first things that I learned about myself and about human beings in general when I studied psychology is that we have this weird psychological bend, and it's this: regardless of how many times you've done a task before, you will always underestimate how long it takes to complete the task. Now, getting ready in the morning is a really good example. It doesn't matter how many times you've gotten yourself ready in the morning. I can certainly, well, this is my example. Regardless of how many times I've gotten myself ready in the morning, I always think that today I'm going to be faster than I was yesterday, and I never am. And I think that's always also a really big problem when you're building something like a business, or you are engaging in a project, because when you underestimate the time, you actually underestimate the cost, and you underestimate the deadlines, and so then things can go haywire pretty quickly. And if you have multiple people working on a team, on a project, then that obviously exponentially makes the problem a lot worse. So this session today is going to help us overcome those issues, right?
Yes, and show us some tools to help us with that. And yeah, and just understand that that's a real thing. I loved you getting ready in the morning example. I run a software company, and a big part of our job is estimating how long things will take, which is incredibly difficult and maybe even impossible in software. And when my general manager asked me, so Phil, how long is that going to take? And I say, 2 weeks. And he goes, really? And I went, no, probably not, maybe 4.
We'll make that 4. I love it. So double the time essentially that you think it's going to take. Hey, Daniel. Hey, Drew. Hey, Carolyn. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm here with Phil Martin. We're talking about project planning. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat, and we'll attempt to answer them. Okay, show us this amazing tool and talk us through the example that you have here on your screen.
Awesome. So I was frustrated years ago with the existing project planning tools that I had, and I couldn't make them work exactly the way I like. So I built one. So my business partner and I in Canada decided to build GamePlan, and it's a visual project planning tool that I use every day to scope out projects that we need to work on. And it's really fun and visual. And we're going to use it today to build a plan on launching a new website for a new product. So we're going to debut Courtney's debut hip hop single, and we're going to be selling merch and t-shirts, and we obviously need a website to sell that. So on our website, we'll need places to buy things, places to do credit cards, some history behind Courtney, why she's debuting her hip hop Christmas single, and we need some cool artwork. So, and she's got backup
You
singers.
just had to throw that in there, hey Phil.
Yes, I really did.
Hey Mark, thank you for joining us today. Great to see you. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments. Right, so what did you just open? What are we looking at?
Cool, so this is the work area for GamePlan. It's a virtual whiteboard where you can put all the tasks for a project on there. And to add a task to your plan, all you need to do is drag a task from the panel on the left and put it on the right. And so when you're mapping out a project, where do you start? Like if you've got something you want to achieve, Elise, where do you start trying to figure out what you need to do?
Okay, so I'll outline the exact process that my team and I would use to map out any project that we're working on. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll get around a whiteboard. So I really love that this is a virtual whiteboard. And then the first question I'll ask is, what is the goal that we're trying to achieve? And then we'll put that on the whiteboard.
So the goal today is website launched. Yes. Excellent.
Okay, very good. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll brainstorm a list of tasks that need to be completed and also the resources that we need. And then we'll go to a second whiteboard because invariably we always run out of space. and then we'll try and order the tasks, and then we'll leave hopefully with an action plan, a who does what plan, so that we can get the goals achieved.
Very good. Would you like to help me brainstorm some tasks for launching Courtney's new brand new website?
Okay, yes, absolutely. So the first thing that we probably need is and it's merchandise that we're selling, Phil?
Yeah, we're selling merchandise and the single. So yes.
So I need more information. Is Courtney going to release music? Is that the idea?
Yeah, so she's releasing her very first single. And we're selling 3 merchandise items. We're selling the CD, the shirt, and a hat.
Okay, very good. So we probably need to decide what platform we're going to use for the website.
E-commerce, excellent, awesome. So we've typed in the task, and I didn't type in a duration in that. We can work on the durations later, but in order to decide that won't take very long to decide. That might just take a few hours. So we can just type in the duration there. And as we're adding tasks down the bottom there, there'll be a Gantt chart that will automatically visualize when all these tasks are happening.
That's excellent. Okay, so the next thing that we need is Courtney needs to record her single and actually produce the CD.
Excellent. Well, that might take a day of recording and mastering. Excellent. What else can we do? So all we're going to do is just going to brainstorm some things, and then we'll start linking them together.
We need to design what the t-shirt and the hat is going to look like. Excellent. And get that produced.
Design the t-shirt, design the hat, and then merch production, actually get them made.
Yep.
Excellent.
We need some photos and descriptions. Am I going too fast?
No, this is good. So when we design something, before we can actually produce the merchandise, we need to design them. So all we need to do is draw an arrow between the two. And that tells GamePlan that, oh, hey, these 2 tasks must happen before producing things. And you can see the lines down the bottom connecting, and it's doing the schedule as we're talking.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really, really simple. That's really simple. So what else? So we probably also need to do that first. So you literally move things around on the whiteboard and connect them with arrows. Is that right?
And the arrows dictate what comes before what and the duration on the tasks. So let's say, for example, the production didn't take a day, it took 5 days. We can just change the duration and the bar gets much longer in our timeline along the bottom.
Yeah, that's the dreaded, the timeline's going out.
Which is really difficult.
The deadline is unachievable.
That's right. And it's really difficult to capture on a whiteboard, and just being able to move things around while we're talking eliminates the need to go grab a second or third whiteboard as we're breaking stuff down. And so whenever you're breaking tasks down in a project, there's always fundamental questions of what does this task need in order to get completed and who needs to work on it? And we'll, after we're brainstorming a whole heap, we'll just go through each task and ask those questions. And then we'll no doubt come up with tasks that need to happen before the design and what happens before and after the e-commerce platform and so on. So, and we'll just keep doing this until we have a reasonable plan.
And so just out of interest, when you work on a project yourself, how long does this part of the task or the project take? How long does the planning usually take?
For probably a month-long project, I can normally plan it out in about an hour at the start. And that needs refinement as you go on, of course, because you learn as the project develops, you learn more and more about what you actually need to do, and you need to come in and adjust the plan. But up front, it only takes about an hour or two of brainstorming and connecting things up to get a plan that lets you make a decision whether or not you're going to proceed with the project and the type of resourcing that you'll need to achieve it and how much it's going to cost.
Yeah, so useful, so valuable. Okay, so are we continuing to brainstorm the tasks?
Yes, please. Let's keep going. I'd estimate we probably need about 30 tasks is my gut feeling.
Okay, so the other thing that we need to do once we have decided on the platform, we need to probably pick a template and a theme.
Yeah. Template. Awesome. And
so you're not allocating time to these tasks just yet.
So whenever I hit enter, it defaults to 1 day, which it often seems too much if you're doing small tasks, but if you're working within a team of people, if you complete 2 or 3 significant tasks in a day, you're doing really well. So it's a nice default. And yes, we'll just go back and adjust the times as we go.
Okay, I'm just going to say hello to Matt. Thanks for watching. Courtney said in the chat that she's the next Mariah Carey. So soon we'll be retiring off this project that we're working on here. Keep your eyes out for Courtney's CD to be released soon. Daniel has suggested some tasks. Thank you very much. Please continue to suggest more tasks. And hey, Tess, thanks for watching. It's great to see you here. Okay, so here we go. She wants to be in the music video, Court, so that'll be really, really cool. Okay. Excellent. So Daniel suggests we need a bank account. Yes, we do. We want somewhere for the money to go.
Yeah, bank account. Very good. And we'll need that as well.
Please continue to suggest tasks. It's much more fun if we all work on this together and probably much better outcome. So merchant payments.
Excellent. We'll need to decide on a payment processor. That's right.
We need to set up for GST. Yes, because we know Courtney is going to sell more than $70,000 worth of music and merch. Excellent. So we definitely need to set up
business. That doesn't take very long to do.
Business.
Thankfully.
We need to register for GST. We need a CRM.
Cool. What do we need a CRM for?
Oh, how are we going to capture the data or the contact information for our clients and talk to them via email to encourage them to buy more hats and more t-shirts and the next single?
Very good. Awesome.
We need a logo. Yes.
Oh, awesome.
The very important logo where every business owner feels like that's where they needs to start. So Matt Lawson asks, how long will it take? Is that effort or duration?
Great question. Now, we tested this a lot in the early days of GamePlan. In this one, it is effort. So you've decided that it's got a day's worth of effort to complete a task. So if you're only working on it for 4 hours a day, it will take 2 days of duration to complete because you're only working on it half of the time.
Okay, very good.
Does that make sense?
So here, so it's literal effort. It's not how long before you get to the next task.
Yeah, it's not how long you think it's not how much calendar time or clock time will take. It is, if I was doing nothing but this, how long do I think it would take?
Okay, very good. Okay, on to the next item that we need to consider. is refunds. But then Courtney says personally she doesn't think that that's very necessary because there wouldn't be any.
Excellent. So
but I think refunds.
Decide on refund. We need to write our refund policies. That's everyone's favorite job, writing policies.
Yeah, please, privacy policies, terms of use, terms and conditions. Yep, awesome. Please, thank you for watching this live stream. Please add some more tasks to the comments and we could certainly add them onto the board. We need 30 tasks.
Cool. So the other thing you can do is have groups of tasks so I can organize my things better. So in this group, I'm just going to put the super website specific things in here just so we can report on it separately.
Okay, cool. That's good. So it's linked to something specific. Right. So when that's done, I'll go to what Matt suggests as more tasks.
Awesome.
He says future marketing / spamming. Now we don't do spamming. So what I'm thinking that might mean is like an email nurture sequence.
Oh yeah, email nurture sequence. Excellent.
That needs to be written. And we need to design the album cover.
Excellent. All right.
We need to register for iTunes distribution, and then also we need to list on Spotify.
Awesome. Let's add a group for music platforms. Awesome. So we need to register on iTunes. We need to register
and on Spotify.
On Spotify. Excellent. And we need to upload our music. Very good.
Yeah, we probably need to establish probably an Instagram page or some social media, YouTube even, so that we can drive traffic to our website.
What was that one? Sorry, I missed that.
So some social media pages, establish some social media.
Okay. Now that's really good. I think that is a really good start for, like, there's obviously many, many more things to do, but I want to take some of these and ask some of the what does that need questions to illustrate how to join that together. And the social media pages is a really good one. So in order to do a social media page, an effective one that tells the story is very similar to doing a website. So what things do we need for a social media page? We need to obviously write our story.
Yeah.
And we need to take some, we need to do profile and header photos.
That's right.
Excellent. And what do we need to write our story? That comes back to a big picture question of our positioning and what type of market do we want to go over. And so what would you call that? Like in the early part before you embark on the detail.
So you need to make some strategic decisions around the direction and positioning
overall
of your
strategy.
product. Yeah.
Excellent. And that's a really important one because often when you're doing a project, and it looks quite messy at the moment and we'll move things around and clean it up, is you often stop about here. You come up with a list of 10 things to do and you go, okay, I know what I need to do now. I'm going to start on those. And you get halfway through and you realize, oh, our imagery for our shirts doesn't match the imagery of our websites. Why not? And then you have to go back and have those strategy discussions. And that's what I like doing a process like this one, is that it forces you to, for every task on the screen, ask, what does that need in order to be completed? And a lot of it hinges on the overall strategy discussions at the start. And that's for any venture, not just Courtney's takeover of the music world.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause you for a moment, Phil. We have a couple of questions that I'd like to go to, if that's okay.
Sure.
So Matthew says, and if you put more than one resource against that effort, I'm linking back to the previous question that he asked. You remember the question about is this effort or duration, right? So, and if you put more than one resource against that effort, does it automatically split the time between people and reduce the duration?
It can. So what we found in our early testing is that that confused more people than it helped. So if I add a task, really long, difficult thing, and it takes 3 weeks to do, and let's add some people. So we'll add a designer, excellent, and we'll add a developer. And to make a person work on the task, you just drag them onto it, and that assigns it to them. So it still takes 3 weeks to do. Now, the reason we did it that way is we found when it automatically shortened things, it wasn't always what people wanted. So you can actually make it effort driven versus calendar driven. But we found most people weren't actually after that. They much preferred to adjust the group effort manually. Awesome. And one of the examples we found was for a building customers. They wanted to map out doing some renovations on a house, and they knew the electrician and the plumber and the carpenter needed to work on this thing, and they knew that it would take about 2 weeks to do with the 3 of them working. And he just wanted to put them 3 on of that for 3 weeks rather than adjusting it shorter automatically.
Cool. So, okay, on to our next question. Maybe I will read Matthew Lawson's comment. Just he is insisting that we add another task, Phil. And he says, I think a plushie doll needs to be created first. Very important. We can see a plushie Courtney doll.
Excellent. Very nice. That's a great idea.
Okay, so back to the questions. Matt wants to know, what can you add to a group in GamePlan?
In a group, you can add, the group is just a way of organizing tasks and milestones and meetings. So you can add other groups inside groups. So you can add another group into here and keep adding tasks. And it's just a way of organizing things.
Okay, and then Tess highlighted something very important, I think. She says, who's making the CD, or is it only digital? So that's a question, I understand that question, but then this is the really important point. Who's going to do the copyright and tell Courtney's story? So essentially, I think what she's alluding to is the fact that there are people needed to do all of this work. So when do we get to the point where we start talking about who does what by when? Does that come later in the process?
It depends how you want to do it. So the way you described your whiteboarding exercise is you would map out all the tasks on your physical whiteboards. And then once you're fairly confident in the structure of what needs to happen, you would then go and figure out who needs to do what and start the scheduling process. So normally I would do the same. I would map out all the tasks, and then I would add all the people and see how we're going for time and see how it maps out.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Phil. Steve, hey, thank you so much for watching. Clay, great to see you here. Haven't seen you for a while. And he says, and GamePlan has so many new features since he last saw it. Yeah, it's an evolving piece of art, I think. It's amazing. Matt Doyle, thanks for joining us. Great to see you here. Okay. So where do we go from here? Do we need more tasks? Because I've had a few more task suggestions. I think we're good with tasks.
Yeah, we can add a few more, and we're starting to see it take shape. So we can start to see a group of website specific things, and we've got music specific things up here, and the merch section is appearing down the bottom. And that's a pattern I've seen when I've watched everyone use GamePlan is you start off fairly loose in structure, and then the structure of the project evolves. And that's something that's lost very easily in a to-do list because you're just working with a vertical list of tasks. And on a whiteboard, you need to rub things out and try again. But with this, you can just move stuff around.
I think for the next project, my team and I will work on, we need to give GamePlan a go. Because you're right,
Yeah.
that's actually really, really, really difficult to do on an actual whiteboard, because once something's written down, if you rub it out, you have to write it somewhere else and you run out of space. It's very challenging. This is awesome. And I love the fact that you can see how, yeah, themes and structure is emerging. Brilliant. And I also love how you can actually connect the things as they go together and what goes first and what comes later. Hey, Jeff, thank you for watching. If you have, Jeff says he agrees it looks great. If you have any questions about project mapping, project planning, please feel free to pop those in the comments and we'll attempt to answer your questions. So what you're doing, Phil, is while I'm talking, you're adding more tasks.
Yeah, so I was looking at the building a website and all these individual tasks, and then I'm starting to combine the concepts together. So our merch production happens earlier, and once we've got the photos of our merch, we need to add it to our website. So we need to add our products to our website. But before we can add the products, we need to also build it.
And are you literally just dragging and dropping?
Yeah, that's all I'm doing. I'm just grabbing the mouse and moving things around. And it works just fine on an iPad or a touch interface as well. And it's got this really nice tactile feel to it when you're using your hands.
It's excellent. It's really excellent. Hey, Kate, thank you so much for joining us today. I remember you demoing GamePlan to Steve Baxter a couple of years ago.
And I
remember
of my very first ever nervous pitch. And I talked about my business for ages. And in the last 2 minutes, I talked about GamePlan, and the eyes stopped getting bored of what I was saying and started getting interested. So that was a learning experience.
Yeah, you got him from leaning back to leaning forward. And when you demoed it, I remember his comments. He said that's the beautiful design he's ever seen.
Yeah, it was the best critical path he's ever seen, which is a project planning term for the project planning nerds out there.
Nice. So it has Steve Baxter's comments. Right, so we're just connecting everything. Very nice.
So up the top, we've got our merch, and we've got writing it some marketing, which alludes to the copywriting question Tess had, and we'll add a copywriter as well. Excellent. And you can use different icons for everyone. So I've decided my copywriter will wear a hard hat today.
You never know how dangerous that job could be.
That's right. So before we go set up payments in website. Excellent. That won't take very long after all the decisions have been made. And to do that, we'll need our bank account, which we'll move up here.
So it's really interesting how you look at one task and then realize that there are 3 other littler tasks connected to getting that one thing done. And that happens as you think through the process.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what I enjoy doing it visually. That's the part I enjoy doing it visually so much, is I get to actually see what feeds into what. So overall strategy. Excellent. And that, let's add a milestone. Overall design is done. So all a milestone is, it's a 0 work task that you can't assign people to, and it just gives you a visual indicator on when all the preceding tasks are finished. And it also lets you organize other things as well. Cool. And
okay, so Tess, there's another comment from Tess, and Tess says, yes, Elise. And then what if they have varying work hours? So talking about the team, what if the team has varying work hours, then costing? So person A wants $50 an hour and person B wants $100 an hour, but is highly skilled and suggesting they can complete tasks much faster. Person C is only available part-time and has variable hours. How do we build all of this into our plan?
That is a really cool question. And I think we should do some of that now just to see what it does. So let's pick a couple of our tasks. So what should we look at? Right, marketing for parks. So let's look at the copywriting. So let's assign our copywriter to our marketing task. So we can see the person's there against the task, and we can look at their schedule. They're working on this task for 8 hours on that particular day.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want to model costs, we can just go to the cost section and we can just go, well, this copywriter is charging us $80 an hour. And if we look at our costs section, because we've only got the one resource with a cost allocated to it, it's telling us exactly how much that resource is costing us. And when you're working with groups, you can also quickly assign a person to all the tasks in a group. You can just drag the resource onto the task, onto the group, and they'll all get assigned there. It's just a very quick way of doing it. So we've got our developer building the website. We've got our owner adding the products. And as I'm adding resources, we can see the overall plan shifting from all the tasks running in parallel, because they weren't assigned to anybody, to actually producing a valid sequence. So the rule is, by default, a person can only work on one thing at a time.
Yeah, which is a really great rule. I think it's just true.
It is, yeah. But the reason
it's how it should be.
Yeah, that's right. But however, there's a good reason, there's a good motivation sometimes in GamePlan is, let's say we had a team of people. Instead of our resources representing just one person, let's say that our resource represented multiple people, and they actually can work on more than one thing at a time because they're a team. Rather than making one resource for every person in the team, you can just make one and change the number of tasks they can work on up. So if I assign that person to a task, they can work on 5 things at a time.
Okay, I understand. Okay, I'm going to go to some questions. Is that okay, Phil?
Just 1 second. I just want to quickly answer the part-time question.
Oh, yeah.
So I've added the owner to a bunch of tasks. And if I view the chart by resource, by person, I can see the owner has got 3 things they need to do. They need to organize a bank account. They need to add products to the website, and they need to register the business. Now, as we know, everyone's very busy and we may not have all day to spend on doing these things. So we can change which hours people can work. So instead of working 8 to 4, we can set custom hours, and we do this by just coloring in an hourly chart for the week. So anything that's green, they can work on. And let's say this is our part-time venture and we only have 2 hours in the evening to work on after the kids are in bed, all that kind of thing. So at 7 o'clock, we get 2 hours to work on our project. And because we've only got 2 hours a day in the evening, the 3 tasks that the owner was working on all got shifted out. And if we look at the schedule, then we can see that they only work 2 hours a day between 7 and 9 p.m. And this is a really effective way of modeling and testing out what happens if you're only doing something some of the time or part-time, or you're trying to start a new project. Because when you're starting a new business, often you're doing it on the side while you've got a day job. And you've only got a few hours in the evening and maybe a few more on the weekend if you're lucky to get something done. And that's where me personally, I often come unstuck, because not only do I underestimate how long something will take, I overestimate how available I'm going to be. So the thing that I thought would only take me a week ends up taking 2 months because, oh, that's right, I'm only doing it on the weekends. And it's a really effective way of modeling that.
So Tess makes a really, really good comment. She says, you know how I said, oh, you really should be doing only one thing at a time. She says, well, what if you have only females on your staff? Then we know
That is a
what's
very valid
happening
point.
then, right? People are doing multiple things at the same time, guaranteed.
Yes.
Karen, guaranteed. Let me go to the next question. What would you do for a task when you're watching, wanting to attach an image or something for approval once you complete it? Do you do it in this platform or link off to Google Docs, or what other options do you have?
Yeah, so we don't have direct file linking and storage here. We have on every task and group and person, we have a notes section, and you can put in links to your Google Drive documents or links to other images and things.
Okay, awesome. Next question. Matthew says, I'm curious, when you're dragging icons around up and down, back and forth, as you have been doing on the screen, is that to adjust any attributes of that particular icon?
No, it's purely visual. So it's just giving you a flexible way to organize your thinking and organize your project.
Okay, another question. Can you create groups of people?
No, not at the moment.
And then Matthew has another comment which goes, this could easily be transformed into a flow diagram app, although there's a bazillion of those out there. I say easily, perhaps not easily. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a valid comment. And yeah, you could definitely do this in a flowchart piece of software where you're drawing arrows and connecting them. And the reason we made it very project planning specific is that none of them do the time and scheduling portion for you and help and understand what a dependency really is between tasks.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Hey, John, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments and we'll be sure to answer those for you. Okay, how is our plan taking shape?
It is doing okay. So I think most of our tasks are connected, which is really cool. And now we can go and assign people.
Okay, so just to recap what you've done, we brainstormed all the tasks, then you essentially dragged the tasks in like a bit of a flow chart from left, which is what we need to do first, to right, which is what we need to do last, essentially, or later. And we connected all the tasks and looked for themes, like put some structure in, and we have assigned some of the tasks to people, but now we're at the step where we ensure that there's a person attached to every single task.
Yes, so most of the tasks in this plan will have people on them. That's because either we know the people doing the task, or it might be part of our own internal team. And some tasks don't need to have people on it. So for example, I didn't put one on the merch production because that's going to get handled off-site by some other company, and it doesn't really matter the size of their team. All I rely on for them is for them to tell me how long they think it's going to take.
Okay, so you wouldn't necessarily assign that company that will be taking care of the production. You wouldn't necessarily assign them to that task because it's not in your responsibility. Essentially,
you totally can, but you don't need to because it all depends on your reporting needs.
Got it. Okay. I really like what's happening down at the bottom of the screen where I can see things are taking shape and adjusting as we adjust the plan on the whiteboard.
And we need to, and as I'm drawing links, you can link groups to groups, tasks to groups, and groups to tasks. And so even though these tasks are in separate groups, you can very easily add a link between them. So we need to decide on our payment processor before setting up payments in the website, for example.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's interesting how new tasks keep coming to mind and how you can just easily add the task and link it.
Yeah, and that's what I like about it is it just forces you to think all the time about how does this task relate to the other things. So I totally forgot to add in the pages to the website. So we've written our terms of service, but we didn't put them anywhere, which sounds, well, of course you need to do that, but they're done by different people, because adding it to the website might need to be done by a developer, whereas the owner or someone else can write the terms of service.
Perfect.
Cool, let's just make sure. Okay, so our owner's going to take care of all of that. Our designer can design the album cover. And
Courtney needs to record the single.
Oh, that's right, we need to add Courtney.
Need to create a Courtney.
I wish I had a headshot of Courtney I could add to them. So for any of these icons, you can actually upload an image. So if I had a picture of Courtney, I could actually put her on there.
You need to crop her out of the Charlie's Angels photo.
That's right. So developer and the owner.
Very easy. Seems extremely simple to do.
And our timeline down the bottom, you can organize by task or by person. And the good thing about by person is you get to see who's under unassigned. So I've only got 6 things that haven't been assigned yet.
That's really cool.
So that needs to be done by the designer. Excellent. And profile and header photos. Oops. And that's one of the things I'm adding very soon is a search functionality, because when your plan gets big, it's as you experience with a physical whiteboard, sometimes it can be hard to find things.
Okay, so Tess makes another really good point. So she's asking, who is going to finance this project? Courtney might not have all the money up front, so can only finance a small amount maybe. So can GamePlan prioritize to suit budgets?
No. So the way it does its scheduling is it just looks at the effort and the people and gives you reporting mechanisms to report on costs. So it informs the decision making. So after you've got your plan figured out and your resources, you then look at the reports and go, okay, it's going to take until January to get this thing done. And it's going to cost 40 grand. Do we have the budget and the time and the deadline for that? And if not, then you can start scaling back your tasks. Go, well, do we really need a t-shirt and a hat? And then you can start removing things to bring it back under budget.
Awesome. Hey, Kylie, thank you so much for watching. Jeff asks, can I have a start to start, in brackets, start at the same time relationship? No, we chose not to put that in. Oh, sorry, start to start. Yes, you can have a start to start relationship. So what that means is, in Microsoft project terminology or project planning terms, is you want to tell a task to start at the same time as another task rather than at the end. Yeah. So for example, let's just pick an example one, task A and task B, and we add a link between them. You select the link and you have a few options. So you can say after 1% completed. So very soon after task A starts, B can start. So that effectively models the start to start relationship. Nice. So yes, Jeff, the answer is yes, you can. Hey, Oksana, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about project planning, please feel free to ask. And this is a skill, Phil, that I'm guessing, you get better at using the technology the more you use it, but also you get better at thinking through tasks prior to just jumping in.
Yeah, and that's the main thing, is that, like, this is just a tool. It doesn't matter what you use, really, as long as you spend the time thinking about what it is you need to do and keep your eye focused on the goal and just keep practicing breaking down tasks. And if you don't know what, like, for example, I've never manufactured hats before. I don't actually know what's involved. So if I don't know, I need to ask someone who does. I need to talk to people that have done it before so they can tell me what's needed to be realistic.
I understand. Absolutely. Excellent. So we have almost cleared our list of unassigned tasks. So everything has a person assigned to it right now.
I think so, yeah. That's, no, I don't. I'm going to call that other. Everyone loves other.
Okay, so once we have all of this done, what happens next?
So I think the only unassigned task is the merch production. So now we have an actual timeline that we can look. So if we click on our milestone, and if our task estimates are all correct, so that's the step we won't do in detail today because that's a methodical task. You need to go through each one and estimate how long each will take. So let's have a look at our schedule here.
Just going to read the comment from Matthew. So he says, all of the bubbles of tasks are visually close to being on top of each other on the whiteboard, where I imagine from a time stamp perspective, this can be wildly different. Although the grant chart represents the timeline, can you go to the other way and make the whiteboard auto group so that it also lays out everything visually in a timeline style?
Not at the moment, no. It's something we've talked about a lot. It comes up occasionally, and the automatic layout is an interesting problem to solve. And yeah, if there's sufficient demand for it, it's something we'll add in.
Okay, so now it's producing our Gantt chart.
Yeah, so if we start today and we faithfully put in the efforts, then we should have Courtney Single out in the streets by late November. By early November.
Time for Christmas.
Just in time for Christmas. It can even be a Christmas single. How good would that be?
That would be amazing, Court. There you have it. So how many people do we need to work on this project, Phil?
That is an excellent question. So that's what our task summary is about. So we have a task at the start, which I'd like to understand which one that is. So this is our chart here is work over time. So each week, this is what our tasks are. This is how much effort is being expended each week. So we can estimate how much work is going on each time. So we know roughly how many people we need to involve.
Cool. That is very, very cool. And so how does all of this get saved? And what if we wanted to do another project? How do we go from this one to the next one?
So it all gets saved online. So, and other people can join in and watch you and contribute as you're working on the plan as well. So I could invite you to the plan and you can add tasks and work on things as I'm working on it. And if you want to add a new unrelated plan, then you can just go to plan a new and start a new one.
Excellent. And how do people get access to this?
You can just go to gameplan.global and sign up through there. And if you sign up and put a note in there, I'll make sure that you can use it for a long time and test it out to see if it fits with what you need.
That is excellent. Well, Tess makes a really good point. She says, this is only step one because Courtney is taking over the world. After stage one, I think once she has some sales, she needs to work on a new single and then an album. And then her time needs to be factored into doing live performances. Court, we have your whole future planned out.
Oh, that's brilliant. I like it.
Love it. Thanks, Tess. That's really, really awesome. Phil, do you have maybe one or two things that everyone needs to keep in mind when you're doing a project plan? What's like best practice?
I don't know about best practice, but the things I've learned over the last few years running a consulting company is be super pessimistic when you're trying to estimate your team's time. And if you're doing a project and you're doing it internally for a fixed price, then that's especially important. So when you're planning out your tasks, be super critical about any estimates that you give yourself and that your team gives you, and add a lot of padding, because particularly in software or a technology field, you just don't know what's around the corner. Like you might get halfway through your project and learn something new that's drastically different, and you need to adjust your plans.
Yeah, you use the word pessimistic. I think that's code for realistic, but it's hard to be realistic because, as we know, it's difficult for human beings to actually estimate how long things will take. And we have this bend that guys always underestimate the amount of time that it actually does take. Is there anything else that we need to keep in mind?
I don't know, just talk to people as well, like particularly your team or people that have done something similar before, is talk to them and find out some of the challenges that they had to overcome and what were some of the surprises they didn't expect along the way. So they may have started out with a perfect plan of what they needed to achieve, and it turned out they just didn't know about some legislation, or they didn't know that this paint was going to cost 4 times what they thought it was going to cost, or this fabric, or just talk to people that have been through it before. And another thing is be open, is talk to people about what you're doing and show them your plans and get some feedback on it. Because often if you've been staring at a whiteboard or a plan for a couple of days or a week, then if you show up to someone with fresh eyes, then they'll often see things that you can't.
Very, very good advice. Okay, final question from Matt Lawson. What's some upcoming features you and the team are working on for GamePlan?
Right now I'm working on publishing public links for things. So I'll be able, just like you can in Google Drive, you can send out a link for people to see and view. You'll be able to do that at the moment as well. So I'll be able to send people an email to a live version of the chart or the whiteboard, and they'll be able to watch as the plan's developing, or during weekly meetings, particularly because very few people can travel now. If you're working on a remote team, you'll be able to all look at exactly the same whiteboard and the same Gantt chart and have a meaningful discussion around what work's coming up and what tasks there are to do.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Mr. Phil Martin, thank you so much for demoing GamePlan and for giving us some ideas on how to plan projects and how to think about tasks. Really, really appreciate your time. So gameplan.com is the website. I'm sure Courtney has...
Gameplan.global.
Sorry?
Gameplan.global.
Okay, and I'm sure Courtney has put that in the comments so that you can easily find the platform. And there is our Gantt chart. There's the result of our work over the last 50 minutes. Beautiful. And now all we need to do is get Courtney in the recording studio and take over the world.
That's right.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's Hub Live. We very much look forward to seeing you again next Thursday. Thanks, Phil. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me on.